My name's Matt Matwijik. I'm a forester with the Coalition for the Upper South Platte, and we're here today filming a video on mountain pine beetle here in Colorado. Mountain pine beetle is a native pest to Colorado's forests. It has a life cycle of about 1 year. Basically, each year in mid-July to mid-September, the beetles will emerge from their host tree that they've stayed in through the winter and move on to another pine tree. When one beetle successfully bores into a host tree, it sends out a pheromone or a chemical signal to call in all its other friends, call in all the other beetles into that tree.
My name is Andy Pascarella, Assistant District Forester with the Colorado State Forest Service. The female first goes out as a pioneer to find a tree that's a good place to live, and she will tell her mate, they'll mate. She'll tunnel into that tree and start boring vertically and laying eggs along that gallery. Each female can lay up to 75 eggs. After the eggs are laid, they're only in the egg stage for about 2 weeks, and then they will become larvae, hatch into larvae. And the larvae begin to feed, and they will tunnel horizontally across the tree, and that essentially is what kills the tree, along with their blue staining fungus they carry on their bodies. The blue staining fungus is a fungus that the beetles carry with them, and it's essentially part of their food source. They inoculate the spores in the xylem and phloem vessels of the tree, and they spread rapidly and just plug that vascular system. And you can see as they grow, it'll eventually just kind of encircle the whole tree and start growing towards the heartwood. And essentially that's what plugs, trees move their water up with their xylem and the nutrients down with the phloem, and that's what's plugged with the blue stain fungus. You can also see kind of what happens to the trees that you see visually as their life cycle progresses. They're going to stay pretty green even through the winter until that tree wakes up in the spring. When that beetles are pupating is when they turn straw yellow. As the pupa continue to develop, that straw yellow tree turns orange and then to red, and then it's dead in the summer when it has decided to wake up and flow its nutrients, and that tree has essentially been cut off, the girdling effect of the beetles boring and the blue stain fungus. Location of the pine beetle, we're going to look at some samples here. This is an adult mountain pine beetle, a small black cylindrical beetle, 1/8 to 3/8 inch long in the area here, depending on what they were feeding on and how long they pupated. Compare it to the size of some of these other Ips species, which are other bark beetles in the area that damage trees. But also we'd like to point out the size of a pine sawyer. And these beetles are very large compared to a pine beetle, and these are a secondary decomposing insect that will only bore on dead wood after it's already been killed by something other than itself, a pine beetle or natural causes, lightning. And you'll find these a lot in firewood piles.
Well, that's it for our introduction in the Rocky Mountain pine beetle. For our next segment, we're going to go into a beetle pocket and look at signs of infestation.